Okay, so this is part one of the teardown. This is the inside of my PC. And as I said, very poor cable management because this case is just compacted. Now, I was given this case originally. I have upgraded everything in it except for the case fan, the heatsink for the CPU, the DVD drive, and the two front panels, which is front USB 2.0 with audio mic header and a media card reader. Now, the board I am putting in it has a USB 3.0 header, and I am unsure if the media card reader will power off that header because I have a Wi-Fi card, which I will show you right now, that has Bluetooth, which requires 2.0 USB header, and front side audio also requires a USB 2.0 header. So and I thought that this didn't come with a disc, but it did. I just don't know how to install this because it is a very micro disc. So, and if anything, I can wire into the internet with a hub that I have. It's a recycled router, and what that does, I use it as a client. So what I did is I essentially turned it into a Wi-Fi gateway, but it's a client, so it extends my Wi-Fi and then transmits it into Ethernet. Now this is the Wi-Fi card. It is PCIe X1. And yes, that is a short finger on it. That is intentional. So, and the cable that's attached is the Bluetooth cable. I've already pre-attached it. I am doing everything with an ESD strip to keep myself grounded. It is grounded to a power supply on a Gateway 7400 series server. And so I've already unscrewed the power supply for this computer, as I will show you. And it slides out. This is not an easy slide. I have to manipulate it. I probably have to unplug everything. And I may have to put the camera down, which I will try to put down as easy as I can. But I might be able to pop the motherboard, the power supply, out without much hassle. It is a hassle. I am unhooking SATA cables right now, SATA power cables, and there are a lot of them. And I again apologize for the hassle that you see because extremely poor cable management in this case because there's extremely no room. And so a new case, if you were to buy a new case, which minimum is like $30 case, they have better cable management and it's bigger and you can put a full ATX board in it. The micro ATX boards are mainly designed for micro ATX towers, which are called slimlines. Now, they don't really exist anymore, but they do. You just really can't buy them. Now, this might be a problem for me to do one-handed. And, because there is, a, if you can kind of see it, there is a, oh, that's right, there's a release. I have to push a release to release the power supply, which I may have to do this with the case standing up. And I'm trying to do this without a problem, but I'm trying to do this so I can, I'm going to try holding this and get this out. I'm going to turn the tower on the side, or back up straight, so I can try pulling the power supply out. I may have to pull the power supply out off camera because I had trouble putting it in to begin with. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull it out off camera, so I'm using an iPhone 6s and I'm still learning the video, and so I'm going to put the case back down on its side, but I'm going to have it this way so I can try, because these cables, this power supply is a 500 watt white, brown, 80 plus white. I probably should have gotten a bronze, but for this case and power consumption, I really don't need to get a bronze because I'm not running a full power hungry card. It just goes along. Aha, see, I got it one hand. It's I apologize for any dust. This case is extremely dusty. It has no air filters or case fan for the door. Some have case fans. This has no air filters on the door, so it collects dust quite quickly. So now that the power supply is out, I'm going to put the screws back into the power supply so I don't mix up the screws. And I'm only going to do it hand tight. And this may not be exactly where the holes were when I mounted it into the case. I have been doing computer work for the better part of 25 years, as far as fixing computers and things like that. And I have a lot of experience diagnosing like hard drive failures, RAM failures, software issues as far as like Windows and finding viruses, things like that. But this is the very first time that I have ever put a motherboard in. This is the first time I've ever bought a motherboard. That motherboard is the very first one I've ever bought. And I bought it new. And I bought it for $80, I believe, roughly. Because any used ones may or may not come with the I/O shield. And trying to find an I/O shield for this board probably could be a problem. I'm not sure. Now, this is my graphics card. It's a gigabyte version of an NVIDIA GeForce 1050 Ti, 4 gigabytes. And the way this I/O for expansion slots work is there are no screws. So, if you can see it, there is a release lever, which you can't really see because I don't have it at the end. So right here, right down here is a release lever. Now, I'm not used to release levers, so I'm not sure. I can't remember. Aha. That's all. Now, typically you want to be even more careful, but that is the video card. And so I'm going to put that right here. Now, this board it's an Alvarox. It's only rated for 95 watts. And it's an AM3, not AM3 Plus. Now, this has a PCIe mini laptop board. This is a very unreliable antenna cable, which when I am done, I'm going to have laying along the bottom. But for now, I'm going to loop it through this particular hole so it's out of my way. Now, I'm going to unhook all my SATAs, and this one is a SATA cable for the DVD drive. It's a short one. The rest of them have right angles so they don't come off the hard drives. And I'm going to loop them down here so they're out of the way. This is the 10-pin power connector. And that is because of this pin, the way it is. Yes, I have to fix that. I did not realize that the plastic broke. It still works because the pins are still accessible. And I'm going to just black tape that down. And but for now, I'm going to slide that up here. Now that 8-pin or 10-pin power is the reason I bought this particular board, because it has a 10-pin power right up here for the front panel. And this one over here is for the case speaker, which I don't have. Front pin, the 10-pin front panel plug is right there. That's the USB 3.0. Those are the two USB 2.0. That's a communication port. That is the LPT, which is the old printer port. And that is the front panel audio header. So, the other board that I was looking at, which was the M5A78LM USB 3, had a 20-pin power connector. So you would have to put single pins. You've probably seen the videos on YouTube if you are a computer person. Now, this yellow one I'm undoing is the USB audio header. It's 10-pin, but there's one missing. This one is the USB front panel header. And you have to be as careful as possible because, I'm going to put those out of the way. Over here. So, another reason I changed the board, I'm changing the board, is not just because of the CPU and the RAM. This board, maximum RAM is 32 gigs, a DDR3, and that has the ability to have overclock RAM. The other reason I'm changing this is when this case is plugged in, I have only one light, and that is this one, if you can see it. The hard drive activity light. The power light, which is here, but also up here, don't come on. And they never did. At one point, I did get it to come on. They never stayed. It was faint. And I did it by getting the computer to go in and out of sleep mode. This is the 4-pin USB header for the media card reader. These are all 4 gig sticks of RAM. Now, as to why 2 are green, 2 are blue, I don't know. They're all by ATEC. The only reason I can suggest that they are that way is because the only reason I can suggest is the particular actual board manufacturer. Now the colors, that's just a solder mask. As you can see, this board is green. This motherboard is a green solder mask. This motherboard is bluish black. It's black, mainly. Now this RAM, I'm gonna, I don't want to put it on there because I can magnetize the RAM, VRMs. So I'm going to put this RAM on a shelving that I have on my desk. Yeah. Got the SATA cable. And before I put the motherboard in, I will do what's called populate it, which is populated with the CPU and the cooler and the RAM. I cannot populate it with the cards or anything because of the head, the motherboard screws. I'm unplugging the CPU fan right now. Now this board looks like it has a CPU power, but or a fan header port, but it's for a 3-pin case fan that goes onto the side of a shield, a cover. Now, I had to be very careful pinning that in there because, quite frankly, I don't want it in the way. Now this fan, I will probably try to clean off video before I put everything back in. I am not removing that PCIe card. That is going to stay in this motherboard. Since I'm taking the CPU out of this one, this is the CPU that was in this. It's an Athlon 2 X4 640. This is going to go back into this computer to make sure that I don't lose it. See, that's the retention lever. Now, I'm going to maybe have a problem with this heatsink because if you can see it, it's got this around it and that rests. This doesn't. The reason being is because those ICs are too close. So I can't remember how this fan underneath is. So I may have a problem with it almost grounding to the board. Now, if that's the case, I can put a old PSX. It's from a PlayStation 3. It's a PSX metal plate, and it will rise it a little bit. That will do absolutely nothing to cause more issues. In fact, that may actually give better heat distribution as long as I put thermal paste on one side of both sides of it. I am going to reapply thermal paste because I did not do that the first time. And as you can see, no wonder my CPU was running at almost 60 degrees. There's almost no paste left on that chip, which is surprising. So this is the stock CPU fan cooler, which I may have a problem with. I may see if that will fit into that board. Now, I'm going to take a paper towel and wipe that fan off. I'm going to put you down for a second. You're going to see the top of my case. And doing this, you always want to be grounded. You want to be as careful as possible, because components can break easy. That motherboard has